Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm super excited to be presenting to you all today. Again, my name is Morgan Getchy. I am the founder of MKG Media. And today I am going to be talking all about how to use Zoom recordings as effective marketing collateral. So super excited to be here and really appreciate everyone's time today. So before I kind of walk through the agenda, I just wanted to quickly explain a little bit more about what I do, just so you have that context. So MKG Media is a video production and content marketing company. And so more specifically, what I do is I really help my clients to create effective video content to help them meet their business goals. So that's kind of what I do in a nutshell. And then I also offer consulting around video strategy to help set businesses up for success as they kind of embark on that content marketing journey, because it involves so many different things. And then for our agenda, I'm going to be talking a little bit about, why video, why you should be spending time repurposing these Zoom recordings. We're going to go over a couple of statistics that I thought would be kind of beneficial to paint that picture. I'm going to kind of provide a brief overview of some equipment that might be helpful when you are doing these Zoom recordings. We're going to walk through filming best practices, and then we will end with some video content research tips. So it should be pretty fun. All right. So why repurpose your recordings? So everyone talks about how important video is. Like, that's pretty much everything that everyone is saying right now. But I really want to dive into the specifics and kind of break that down and kind of provide, I guess, some proof for why people are saying that. And so right now, of course, we have all these people that are conducting their meetings and their sessions in a virtual setting, much like I'm doing right now. And so chances are, if you are already, doing these virtual meetings, you're doing these virtual settings, that's a great opportunity for you in and of itself to go ahead and leverage that video content. And it's really interesting because a lot of the people that I work with, when it comes to starting on this whole like video journey and getting consistent with doing video production and video strategy, one of the most difficult things is actually creating the content. But if you are doing your virtual meetings and your sessions, all you have to do is record that session and you're good to go, and you're already a step ahead. So it's really the perfect time to be doing this. We also know that so many people are online right now. Like, it's crazy. The pandemic, of course, has really forced a lot of people to kind of embrace working online. And that's how a lot of people are getting business done right now. So you really already have that built-in audience online. And something else that I've found that's pretty cool right now is that more communities are popping up left and right on different social media platforms to really try to provide that support and that inspiration, especially with so many people working from home. So I think that right now is really the perfect time to be leveraging video content to really join in on that conversation and, help people and just bring some inspiration to the table. I think it's a really good time for that. And then I would also say that because times are a lot more difficult for businesses and individuals, I have noticed a lot of businesses really taking their foot off the gas when it comes to putting the time and energy into creating content. Content marketing, it's more of a long-term play, I would say, because you're really trying to build that know, like, and trust factor with your audience, and it just takes time. And so I think that because so many people are online right now, it's the perfect time to embark on that journey. And I also think that the brands that really take the time to do that right now are going to come out a lot stronger in the long run. So now let's talk through some video statistics. I thought it might be kind of interesting. So, of course, 2020 was crazy. Everybody is like rushing online, but what I found to be really interesting were the statistics for 2021 and the predictions. So, this year, TikTok is planned to be used as an advertising channel by 25% of marketers. And the reason why this is so interesting is because you have platforms like Facebook that have been around for over a decade. But you have these newcomers like TikTok. I mean, TikTok is still pretty new, even though, it was talked about so much in 2020. But, a quarter of the marketers that were surveyed for this study are already going to be leveraging it as an advertising channel. So it's a great opportunity to really, get your foot in the door with video. 2021 video spending is also going to be increased by 61% of marketers. So over half of marketers that were interviewed for this study are going to be increasing their video spend. And then this final statistic I thought was the most interesting because it focuses less on what marketers are doing and more on audience consumption. So the average person plans to spend around 100 minutes per day watching online video, which is crazy because that's almost 2 hours worth of time that you have the opportunity to reach your target audience. And I think that's really powerful. So I just wanted to share these statistics to kind of provide a little bit more tangible proof as to why video is so important. So I'm also going to kind of pivot now and talk a little bit about video equipment. And I'm going to keep this high level, but when it comes to your actual video footage that you'll be capturing, it's important to have at least a decent quality webcam, I think. Especially if you want to be using this video content in an evergreen way, continuously repurposing it throughout the year. So my recommendation is to focus on purchasing a webcam that either provides 4K video or 1080p. And just as an example, the quality webcam that I have provides 1080p. So that'll kind of give you an idea of the quality. And then a couple of different webcam options are the Logitech C920 HD Pro. That's about $80, a little bit on the more expensive side, I would say. The Winchart HD webcam is about $40, also provides 1080p. And then if you really want to like put some money toward it, Logitech StreamCam 1080p at $170. So I want to say that I have the Logitech C920 and I've had this for a few years now and I'm pretty happy with it. But I wanted to at least provide a couple of options if you're not really sure what direction to go and at least provide kind of a starting point. And then, of course, the audio is just as important. And my recommendation when it comes to kind of just taking your audio up, to another level is to go with a condenser microphone. And so that's actually what I'm using right now to deliver this Zoom. So I bought this Samsung condenser mic, I don't even know, maybe like 5 years ago, and it still works pretty good for me. But that's what I would go with because if you are conducting your Zoom recording in your meeting, you're at your desk, a condenser mic is going to be the perfect option to just sit on your desk, have kind of an easy setup and get that really crisp audio. Couple of options just in case you're looking. So the Blue Yeti USB mic, that's $130, definitely on the higher end of things. And then there's also the Insignia USB mic, which is $40. And then I have name dropped the mic that I'm using, the Samsung condenser mic, but truth be told, I'm not sure how much this was because I bought it so long ago. But again, those are just a couple of options if you are in the market for some new equipment and you kind of want to take things to the next level. So we're also going to talk a little bit about lighting. Lighting is so important, and I will be reviewing some best practices when it comes to audio, video, and lighting here in a couple of minutes. But really, there's two types of lights that I personally would recommend when it comes to doing your Zoom recordings. And the first is going to be the ring light. I love ring lights. That's usually my go-to. Right now, I'm actually just using some natural lighting, and usually I would supplement it with a ring light, but I feel like it might be a little bit too much. But just in general, ring lights are definitely my go-to. And then one option that you can actually buy from Best Buy is the Sunpack tabletop ring light for $50. You can also get ring lights from Amazon. I bought my ring light years ago and it's been extremely helpful. And if you are in the market for one of these lights, I would also recommend looking for one that has a diffuser so that you can adjust how much light you're getting and it's not going to be like too much or too little light. I also wanted to provide a little bit more info when it comes to lighting. You do have the option of purchasing a cube light as well. In general, I would still stick with the ring light, but I at least wanted to show you this option just because it is out there and you might be curious. But the cube light is something that you can actually hook onto your laptop. It will be kind of tricky to maneuver that if you're using a webcam. But if you're interested, one option is the Loom Cube video conference light, about $70. So that's something else to consider if you want to do a little bit more research and just check that out. So now let's get into some filming best practices. And I think it's really important to talk about this just because shooting video can be complicated, it can be stressful, and it can really overwhelm people. And there are some best practices that you can follow to really kind of just easily increase the quality of your video. And a lot of these I've learned just throughout the years, lessons learned, what to do, what not to do. And these are also some industry standard best practices as well. So, the very first one, when it comes to lighting, I would definitely avoid having your back to any light source because when you do that, it's going to be extremely difficult to see you on camera. So that's called backlighting. And so when all else fails, just make sure that you're always facing the light source because you're going to get the best quality light that way. I also recommend using natural lighting whenever possible. As mentioned, I'm currently using natural lighting. This is really the best option, in my opinion, because you are going to get just a really soft light and it's going to be more evenly distributed than some other light sources. And in general, I would also be kind of careful when it comes to overhead lighting. So as you can see right now, I'm in my home office and I have a ceiling fan and there's a light attached to it, kind of normal setup. But a lot of times with those lights, they can come across very yellow and just really dull the overall quality of your video. So they don't always do that, but sometimes they do. So it's just something important to consider. And then now we're going to talk through audio. So of course, you want to be as mindful as possible about background noise. Excessive background noise will, at the end of the day, lower the quality of your video significantly. And from a user experience standpoint, it just makes it very difficult to consume that content. And I've heard a lot of people in the past say, well, I can just edit it out, like it's not a big deal. But trust me, you do not want to spend your time editing background noise out of your video. Like it's going to be an absolute nightmare if it's even possible to do that. So just keep that in mind. And then also, from a user experience standpoint, I mean, just imagine if you publish a video and there's so much background noise and somebody clicks on it, they're really excited about the topic, and that could be a potential customer for you down the line as well. But they click off the video because they're so frustrated and they can't hear anything, and it's just an absolute nightmare. So just try to keep that in mind. And I know background noise can be kind of difficult to navigate, but it is super important to minimize. And then I would also say when it comes to your video and your background, you really want to make sure it's as professional as possible. It's a whole new thing to kind of navigate as everyone is online right now. But worst case scenario, if you're not really sure and you feel like maybe your background is questionable, just have a blank background. It's not that big of a deal. But if you want to decorate your background in any way, books, pictures, art, that kind of thing, I feel like is pretty safe. But the reason why it's so important to consider that, and it doesn't really seem like that big of a deal, is because, when you're meeting somebody face to face, there are so many ways that somebody can kind of get to know you through body language, kind of just how you present yourself. I mean, it's just so much easier face to face, of course. But when you're presenting something over Zoom, the stimuli is just so greatly limited because they don't see you face to face. So they're really using everything they can to kind of get an idea of who you are. So, for example, I'm presenting right now. You can see my background, you can see the bookcase and the plants and the two pictures in the back, and then me talking. And that's really all you have to go off of. But when you're in person talking to someone, you just have more stimuli to reference. So it's a little bit easier. So, just from a psychological standpoint, I actually think that's pretty interesting. And then I don't know if any of y'all have ever been on a Zoom call where the camera was doing this thing, it's just shaking. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's super important when you are presenting content just to make sure that your laptop is on a stable surface. Because if you want to repurpose that content in the future and it's like super shaky, like an earthquake, it's just not going to make for the best user experience. So you really want to be mindful of that as well. And I know a lot of these things really do seem like common sense, common knowledge, but we forget them. I mean, we're so busy every single day and we really forget to implement these best practices, and they all stack up because if you forget, if you forget about the background noise and you forget about having good lighting and your camera is super shaky, when all of those different layers compile on one another, it's just going to result in kind of a lackluster video. Okay, so this is honestly one of my favorite things to talk about, and it is all about your video topic research. So, if you are not sure about the topics that you want to create video content on, this is going to be perfect for you. And to be honest, even if you do have a pretty good idea of what you want to speak on, it's still good to do this research. It's really good to do that voice of customer research and really get to know who your target audience is. And the reason why that is so important is because I have seen so many people and so many businesses create content that they want to see or content that they think their target audience wants to see, but they're not really sure. And creating content takes a ton of work. And the last thing that you want to do is to create Zoom video recordings that are not targeted to your audience because that content just won't be effective at the end of the day. So you really want to do your proper research ahead of time, and that's just going to make for much more effective video content overall. So, with that being said, the first strategy that I want to share is through LinkedIn. So, what I would recommend is do some social listening. And that might sound corny, but I'm telling you, like, this is a great strategy. You know, if you don't want to spend the time interviewing your target audience, then this is going to be a great strategy for you. So, basically, what I would do is 20 minutes a day, just scroll through LinkedIn. So, I'm sure that you're probably friends or LinkedIn friends with some people from your target audience. So you really want to make note of what are these people posting about, like what are the articles that they're sharing, what are the topics, what are the trends, what are the hashtags, and start collecting that information, put it into a spreadsheet. And I can almost guarantee you that if you continue to do this over a couple days, maybe even a couple of weeks, you will start to notice trends, pain points, challenges, things that these people are excited about. These are all going to be so, so important because you can leverage that into different topics for your Zoom recording, for your Zoom recordings. And so maybe, you see somebody posting about small businesses and maybe there's challenges getting funding or something like that, and then you could take that information and put it into a Zoom recording and then put that on LinkedIn. I mean, that's really the perfect opportunity to be able to provide your audience with some very relevant, thoughtful, meaningful content. And when you are on LinkedIn, I would also take a look at the LinkedIn news section in the right-hand corner of your LinkedIn homepage, because that's also just going to give you some very relevant news that you can leverage for content. So that's for LinkedIn. And if you are on Facebook, I mean, Facebook groups are probably the best part about Facebook, in my opinion. So, what I would do if I were you is I would do a little bit of research and join some Facebook groups where your target audience resides and hangs out. And the reason why this is important is because when you join these Facebook groups, you can then start to see, what are these people posting about? What are their biggest challenges? What are the problems? What are they excited about? Like, it's honestly the perfect opportunity to get this information. It's so valuable and it's really not that hard to do. I would say the hardest thing about that is probably finding some of these groups, but just search on Facebook in the search bar for different keywords with the group filter, and you should be able to find some relevant groups. But once you're in these groups, start, of course, taking note, put it into a spreadsheet. And then also, what I would recommend is if you want more information, ask some questions to the group, post a poll in the group. I mean, this is really your opportunity to survey your target audience, and it's so valuable. And then finally, last but not least, is TikTok. And I know there's a lot of mixed opinions about TikTok. Some people love it, some people hate it. But TikTok is such a great platform because there's so many different functions and different focus areas. I mean, you have people that work, of course, like in the DIY space, you have marketing, finance, real estate, investing. I mean, you have everything. You have tech. It's crazy. So this is honestly one of the perfect social media platforms to do this video topic research. So what I would do is I would download the app, And then once you download it, go into the search bar and search for a keyword that's relevant to your industry. Technology, real estate. It could be really anything. And start taking note, like, what are the trends? What are people talking about? And then you could even take it a step further. And once you find these videos, look at the comment section. I'm telling you, the comment section is gold and you will get so much good information. So, so I would definitely recommend doing that. And also, if you aren't super familiar with TikTok, one quick tip is that the more content that you like within a specific niche, the more of that content you will be served from the algorithm. So kind of just keep that in mind as you're checking out TikTok. But honestly, it's just such a great opportunity to do this video topic research.